Hi guys, welcome along. So, before the injuries, before the silence, we had a dream. That dream took us all around the world. It's my humble self, Joel. I'm here with.
I'm Big Sam. This is our humble beginning. Before things broke, before we had to rebuild. Welcome to Broken&Unseen.
How you doing, man?
Yeah, good. It's been a very long week, and it's good to be here. Finally we're here. You remember when we had this, should I call it a dream, or when we had this plan? It felt like it was never going to happen. You know, but
We are finally
sometimes,
here.
yeah,
We are finally
sometimes
here.
that thing that scares you the most is something that you really need to do because it scares you for a reason. You know.
I mean, probably by now the viewers must have seen our trailer, and so today we will give them a whole story, the full story, let them know where this all started from, and how we met each other and where this relationship we have.
Where I picked him up.
Yeah, where he picked me up. Where he picked me up. So, guy, have fun now. Tell the people. Tell the people.
Um, to be honest with you, when we decided that we're gonna do this, one of the things that scared me the most was there are some books you really don't want to open, and not because of the kind of people you're gonna call out at some point, because which I would do, but you just don't want to go back all the way, all the emotions, all the struggles, the pains, the rejection. I'll say rejection because at that time as kids, we really never know that it was rejection, some kind of pressure. But yeah, those are the main reasons why I didn't think I was going to be able to talk about it. But we are here, so it's like not going back. Yeah.
So let's first of all let's talk about um our upbringing, or where we grew up, um, how the environment we found ourselves growing up influenced us, and I mean, I for one, for growing up and watching almost everyone around me play football, made me want to become a football player. So I don't know about you, but I grew up in a village, and every guy, like everyone, every boy was playing football on the street. So, and some of those are our friends who couldn't play, like it was a tough battle for them, because when after school, the only thing we did after school was play football on the streets, some barefooted. And I mean, now I see kids growing up. You see a kid 5, 6, 7 years old. They have a phone. They have a smartphone. We didn't have all of that.
Yeah, playing without shoes. I mean,
Yeah.
I have evidence to prove that. If you look at my toes right now, and they're like when you go to a place where there's a plane crash, you know how it looks. That's how they look. Sometimes I try to. I'm working on it right now, actually, but it's my signature now. It's my identity. When I look at the scars all over my body right now, they take me back to who I am. They remind me of the struggle, but they didn't just remind me of the struggle. They let me understand that I survived. So coming back to where I came from, you have to be really tough, mentally, physically, spiritually.
Talking about that, let's talk about this for a second. I don't know about your setting, your family setting growing up. Um, I remember growing up, there was no one time in our house we were less than 10 people. So, and I think most African families, it's like this. Like we had to, like we had a girls' quarter, so the girls were sleeping in the same house with my dad and my mom, and the boys were sleeping in the boys' quarters. So when you were like maybe 10 years, or no, like 10, 12, my dad would say, no, now it's time for you to go to the boys' quarters. And the boys' quarters had 3 rooms, and each room had 2 beds, and each bed had like 4 people.
So
Face me, I face you.
have to sleep on the floor.
Face me, I face you.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Talking about people in the house, right? Like up to now, to date, I can eat cold food. And not because I like to get my tongue burned or something, but it's just because growing up then, nobody have time to spend all the time in the kitchen and have time to distribute food, on the table, calling you a million times to come eat and you're still sitting, especially you watching your phone, But out there, like they make the food, it's like a pot of food, like a huge pot of food is brought to the middle. So everyone is seated, not even squatting in front of the pot, burning smoke, So if you decide that you're not good with eating hot food, you have to wait, right? So before the food is cold, the pot is empty. So everyone is kind of eating. So that's how it is to have a lot of people in the house. Then sometimes when I go to my grandmother, I have uncles, I have cousins, like basically almost all my cousins lived with my grandmother while she was alive. So it was never easy. But talking about football, yeah, there was never a time, I was given a go ahead to go play football. Like, even though, especially in the village, there was a time my grandfather is sitting outside because we have a huge mango tree, so he's always sitting there taking fresh air. And I have to go all the way like 200 meters behind the other houses, just to get to the field, which is actually in front of my building, you know. So I can't go in front of him. He'll tell me, go back, you know. But somehow we have to play, and we don't have these goalposts. We have to go to the forest or get the bamboos, create our own goalpost, Then we play from community to community, betting money. Then from there, I moved to the city where yeah, the only reason.
Wait. Let's take it back. Let's take it back. Talking about football, like I don't know if you had this in Nigeria. Like we used to when we didn't have, because at the time it was expensive to get a leather ball like what you play now. So we
Yeah,
had the rubber ones.
we call it felele.
Yeah, and there was one other one that was done with plastic papers. So you take a lot of plastic papers, you tie them together, and it can bounce. That's what we were using.
Yeah, but we were cutting there. There was one that was close to leather, but it was also plastic.
Yeah.
But it's a bit finer. Then there's
The
another.
one that had that tube inside.
Yeah, but when that one get broken, we usually buy the plastic one, load it inside,
Yeah.
and pump it.
And pump it.
But it's so heavy.
It was heavy.
I don't know
we
how.
used to call it size 5. We used to call that one size 5.
Up to now, when I think about it, I don't know how I kicked that ball. And me being a goalkeeper, there's no amount of force you put on that ball that I'm not catching it. And I didn't have gloves. So that was what football really meant then, putting your body in line, going head to head. When they see me coming then, because of my height and I was always big, like if I'm coming one on one, you run.
Yeah. Man,
I was a killer.
I remember like we used to have like this summer, so long holidays. Let me not say summer because we don't have summer. We have rainy season, dry season. So after school in like after the May break, when it's long holidays, the long holidays is like June, July, August. So we usually have like holiday tournaments, and each time there was a tournament, it was crazy because everyone was coming back from school for holidays. And I remember like where my village, my sub village, we had a team, and it was always the best team. So each time we go to play, other villages, it was crazy, and there was always fights. One time, one of my uncles, my dad banned him from going to watch football because
There's
every
always
time he goes, he
fighting, right?
fights.
Yeah, I know that. Like if a team will come to my village then to play, we have to win.
Yeah.
If we lose, the whole village is going after their bus when they're going back.
Yeah.
Gonna like boo them till the border of the village, like they don't have peace.
Yeah.
But if we also win, they still don't have peace. They will boo them across the border. But talking about a childhood sometimes, yeah, when I remember, I just felt like it shaped me better. It's what made me who I really am today. I mean, looking at you sometimes, no, don't get me wrong, like looking at you sometimes, and when I compare my childhood with any other person, of course, it's easy for me to talk about mine. I don't know other people. That's why we're here to talk about the unseen, what they don't know. My childhood was, I was speaking with somebody the other time. I was like, the reason why I can easily mingle with young ones is because I just missed that time, you know, I missed it. I just wanna go back to that time whereby I could have do things differently. I could have felt like a child, being an almost an adult already at the age of 10 was not something anybody wanted to have.
So let's take it back a little. So why do you say that? Like, I mean, I understand, but for the sake of the viewers, why do you say that? Like, do you feel like your childhood was maybe rushed because of the circumstances?
Yeah. I was too responsible. I was then, like at the age of 10, I could call myself a man already, you know.
I mean, you lost your dad too at the age of 6.
Yeah, then, look, my dad was, I was very close with him. Like, at 6, when he passed away, imagine that's about 30 years plus ago. I still remember things about him. So sometimes when I look at my son now, who is 7, I think about him and I was like, he's just a child. Imagine at 6 and I still have memories with him. I love driving a lot, a lot. And my dad was one hell of a crazy driver then.
Yeah.
So imagine at 6, if we will go somewhere, there's a place we usually go. He buy this kind of meat, here they call it barbecue, but there it's suya.
Yeah.
So with spice and stuff, he just get out of the car to go buy this. He's intentionally leaving the car in a sloping road, leaving the engine running, and asking me to come to the driver's seat to just sit there, hold the brake, and not move. So I go there, I sit there, I hold the brake. For how long he's gonna take, I'm there. So that was like it was kind of like a discipline. I'm there. At that age, I already know what the brakes are. That's why I'm not surprised that Christian know these things. Brake, the throttle, most part of the car, he was also explaining them to me. And I remember that every time he's coming from work, then he usually buy me this kind of biscuit called shortbread. Yeah, the last time I saw shortbread here at the store, I just got emotional because it's been a while. If he forgets to buy, he's turning around. You know, that was how close we were because they called me his information minister at 6. So I had to give him what went on in the house, give him all the food gist. So I have to always wait for him to come back before I eat. I always eat with him. And those are the memories I have. And I remember there was one time he actually disciplined me. That was, oh my God, I'd never forget it. And I was in pain, not because of the pain, the physical pain. I was in pain because I didn't see that coming. So one day he wanted to go to see a friend and a neighbor who lives like, let's say, a kilometer away. I know them, and I was like, Dad, can I come with you? He was very clear, no. You know, like, yo, what's wrong with this man? Like, you take me everywhere. Why today? He actually left without me. Knowing where he was going, I was walking. So I walked towards him, and so it was like I was like 50 meters away from him. I saw his car parked outside. He was having a discussion with this man.
Yeah.
He saw me coming. He stood up. He told me, go back. He was very serious this time. I turned around. So this was what happened. Me going back home, I was walking slowly, thinking that he's gonna be coming back and he's gonna pick me up. He actually drove past me. He told me, meet me at home. So yeah, I got home. He kept a very huge rod for me. Like I got the beating of my life that day. And I cried like normal child, I wept. I was upset. And I was mad at him. I wasn't talking with him anymore. So he noticed that no information for him anymore. I didn't wait for him anymore to eat, So one Saturday morning where he didn't have to go to work, he usually go for hunting. So while I was sleeping at 7 in the morning, he came with this bushmeat. And I heard from sleep, that one is for Agbons.
Yeah.
Like it was like a bribery.
Yeah.
So I woke up, I have to be the one who take care of that meat, the roasting, split it. If I want to give you, if you're lucky, okay. If I don't want, it's mine. So that was how we settled. So
Yeah. I mean, for the audience, that's African parents. That's their way of saying they are sorry.
yeah, and I mean, no one will ever come to you, "Oh, my child, I'm sorry for,"
Yeah.
they always think they did the right thing. So after that, there was this holiday, like it wasn't even a holiday, it was a weekend, it took us home and to my grandparents. Like we were supposed to stay there in the weekend, and he was going back to the city, and he promised to come back to pick us. But this old man never came back. And I was also sleeping in the morning, Sunday morning or Saturday morning. I have to check the date again, 8th of August.
But it was an accident, or?
No, my dad was never ill. He was never ill. He never fell us. No, he never told us he was sick, as long as I know. So he brought us to the village healthy. He drove back. He was supposed to come back on Sunday for us. And Sunday, I was also sleepy when I hear a voice saying a doughboy is dead. As a child, I woke up. I didn't really know what was going on. I took a walk to my grandfather's house, and I saw that everyone is gathering there. My grandfather was just sad. And that same evening, they brought his body home. I was 6. That's how much I remember. So a lady who I couldn't remember her name picked me up, and carried me because they took his body to the back of the house. Because in Nigeria, if your father have a lot of houses, so they can choose to bury his first child or second child in one of the houses behind the house. So they took his casket past me. I mean, I knew something was going on, but I couldn't, really connect it very well.
Yeah, you could not connect.
They had a waykeeping. I heard people crying and blah, blah, blah. Then that was all, went back to the village. A few months later, I wanted to just go back to the city. Then the only way was my auntie, who was my, father's immediate younger sister, asked if I want to come with her. I was like, before she said that, I was ready, you know. But I don't know if it was the best thing I did, but sometimes I think that's the beginning of what made me who I am today. Actually,
At that time, like your mom was also still
my
in the
mom
picture.
my mom then went back to her maternal house, So
After your dad died?
Yeah. She went back to her maternal house. So I actually have 3 brothers, at that time. And my mom was also pregnant at that time, so she gave birth after my dad passed, so she needed to be at her maternal house. So probably that was why she stayed there. But his name was supposed to be Endurance, because endurance just is like be patient. After my father died, he was born. But he passed away too at that time, So now I was living with my auntie. This was how my auntie broke the story. I can never forget. Maybe I was like eight already then. He said, "What's the name of that your brother, your baby brother, that was ill?" I like Endurance. I came back from school or kindergarten. I was in primary 1 then. I was like, Endurance. He said, "Yeah, he traveled abroad yesterday."
Wait. Say this in pidgin. Say it in pidgin.
Would it be that your brother name again? Then I answer Endurance. He don't go abroad yesterday. He traveled abroad. Like he's saying that my brother traveled abroad. She was insinuating that he's dead. So basically, my mom had six, was supposed to have 6 boys. She actually had 6 boys, like 6 boys. So we lost 2. And then my sister came also, which was my stepsister from another mother, because my dad had 2 wives. And I was like, okay, I didn't understand. Few days later, and she also told me, you can imagine how these people can break story to you.
Wait, hold on. Wait. I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to reason what you're trying to say. So you're living with your aunt,
Yeah,
and then you lost your brother.
yeah.
So, of course, she knows the name of your brother.
I hope so, because
And then
the way
she
she
says to
asked
you,
me, what's the name
yeah,
of that your brother? Or like Endurance. And she'd be like, she traveled out here. He traveled abroad yesterday, you know? So I couldn't comprehend, because I was young. Like, I thought, like, in my head, I was like, abroad? Who take him abroad? Then, few days later, I think, I don't know what I did. She kind of, schooled me a little, and she kind of figured, like, I was even saying your brother went abroad yesterday. You could have said he died. That was what I was trying to say. So I should be in shock. But as a child, I just be like, oh, really? You know? And I just walked away. Then I started to think about it, because, I mean, someone died and you said he went abroad. You're trying to be, I don't know how you think you want to present it, but you could have just give me a hug or something, and be like, yo, Endurance died, because I knew he was sick. Then my immediate elder brother, I was very young also, because my mom has 6 boys. Like I said, we lost 2. So now it's my eldest brother, my elder brother right now, whom I told you about, Julius. It's not actually my immediate elder brother. There was one between me and him who passed. Then my dad was still alive, so I didn't really know him. I was still a baby then. Then Endurance, whom was born after my father died. So that was how we lost 2. Then I start to be like, okay, you know what? I moved on. I didn't even go back home. I didn't go to the village to see my mom. I was, going there. I was going to school. I was happy, and, stuff like that. And sometimes, yeah, people want to do things from the heart. I remember my cousin, who was the first child of my auntie. Then he usually take the dishes, to wash them. So I wanted to, like, help. Then we can. He was like, no, as kids, then you feel like you need to do. Then it's like we were dragging for who to wash the dishes. Then my auntie be like, okay, in that case, Julia, let him wash it.
how old were you then?
I mean, I think I was just like around 7, 8. It's okay, let him wash it. From that day, I washed the dishes for years. It became like a tradition for me. Like, no matter where I go, what I do, I come back. The first thing, okay, you need to gather the plate and wash them. So it became my duty for years to wash those dishes. And but no shaking, no problem. Normal. Before going to school in the morning, when I return from school in the evening, if I don't want to do it in the morning, I wait everyone eat, then I wash it, so I don't do it in the morning. Sometimes it doesn't work like that. So, but yeah, all that happened. Then when I said I became a man at 10, I'm gonna tell you shortly, because at some point my auntie's husband, God bless him, he's an amazing man. I call him dad till today. Like, don't get it twisted. I love my auntie, till today. But I'm just gonna say these things because they are one of these things that we African kids never have the opportunity to talk about. We go through some emotional trauma. We go through some breakdown, and we think that it's normal because in the name of discipline, you're teaching them. But a lot of children out there today who are going through abuses, but they consider it that they are training them, they are making them to become a strong person and man. But whoever is listening to this, I'm going to say this. Whether you like it or not, who want to come for me should come for me. Ask me the question, I'm ready to answer. It's an abuse. The reason why I say it's an abuse is that there's nowhere right now in this age that you will see a child of 10, 11, 12 hawking things on the street, selling just to get money back, and you will not stop that child and say, why are you not in school? I mean, it never stopped my school. Shout out to them for that. But when you're in school, you're in class, you're supposed to be concentrating and you're thinking about you getting home. And the first thing you have to do is change your uniform, because we wear uniform them. Change your uniform and go to the street to make money, you know? And all that happened for so many years that even when I was in high school, it still happened. Like, no shit. But look, I that's why I said I've been a man for a very long time. So at some point, my auntie's husband, who is a fashion designer, God bless him.
So hold on, let's just track back a bit. So when you were doing the hawking on the street,
Yeah,
you wake up in the morning, you go to school,
yeah,
you come back, you go to the street.
yeah.
So where did this money go? The money you were making?
Taking it back home. The money goes home. That's why responsibility have always been there. The money goes home. Now, I'm going to shock you a little. Why I call it abuse. There are times whereby there was twice. I remember one vividly whereby I was deceived, by, fraud. Fraud has been there for a long time. So a guy stopped me and be like, yo, I want to buy everything you have in. I gave him that. Okay, I'm giving you this amount of money. You need to give me change, but I need to give it to my boss so he can give the money. So he took my stuff, took all the money with me to go bring the money, like change. I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't even remember everything that happened, whatever happened there.
I mean, you were young.
Yeah, I was young, and he never came back, so I lost everything. And damn, I was afraid to go home. I mean, no matter what you say,
you should be like, you should want to go home because if you feel safe if you go home.
yeah, but I couldn't go home without that money. I was crying like shit on the street. Like, seriously. I was crying, like, I was scared. Like, believe me, if the ground could open that day, I would jump in to swallow me instead of going home. I couldn't go home until someone saw me on the street. I was bad. I was in a bad shape. They told me what's going on. I was like, this is what happened. This is what happened. I can't go home. I will be killed. I will be given the beating of my life. And he was like, don't worry, man. It's okay. Come with me. And he asked me how much. I told him. He gave me the money. Like, he gave me all the money. I took my train in my hand. I went home like nothing happened. Like, I finished selling everything. This is the return. Like, nothing happened. So it happened another time. I ever told you about a girl called Uwaila. She make beats. Like, it's one of my best friend in Nigeria. Like, the only girl that I have as a friend. And she's married. She got married a few years ago. We still keep in touch. And there was a time something like that happened, and her mom had a restaurant then, so I always go there, every time I go there, she gives me food. And it happened something similar, I was so devastated. And this girl went to steal her mother's money, to give to me to take home, and just to get back home and said, I returned the money. I sold everything, And it was crazy. I spoke with her about a year ago, and we just laugh over it, So now I said about abuse. Now let me tell you why it's actually abuse. Who is making that money? Me. Yeah? Of course, she bought the goods. It's her goods. It's her business, yeah? But I'm the one who is taking those goods out, bringing return, right? Good. So it's okay to be entitled to something. I mean, okay, I have a roof over my head. I go to school. It's a public school. Okay, had uniform. There are times if I'm lucky, I have sandals. If I'm not lucky, I go with a barefoot. So now you understand why I'm crazy about shoes, right? So I go barefoot. Sometimes if you have one sandals, you have to last you for as long as possible. If it breaks, this is it. So I got to some point whereby I see my mates, at school, they live okay, they get at least pocket change, During break, they buy stuff, they eat, But for me, no. And it doesn't make sense to me. So every time I go to sell, if I have excess, maybe someone even give me extra, or from the money I sell, I just decide to keep maybe a little, like then at that time we're talking about 5 naira,
Yeah.
like it's very
Like the
small.
tips.
A
Tips.
tip,
Let's say
like,
tip, yeah.
something I keep like 5, 10, maybe you make at least 100, 200, because then 200 is a lot. You make 200, 300, you just keep like 10, 20 for yourself, At some point, I got busted for that. Let me tell you where the abuse come from. I got busted, and at that time, I thought I start to see myself like a thief. I got busted. I was calling a thief. I was called a thief. I was beaten. I was followed to school. I was reported to my teacher in front of my classmates. She stood there, spoke with my teacher, and I was laid on the bench. I was flogged 12 times, Yeah. I was beaten. And the whole class started calling me thieves. You can imagine that among your classmates, you get outside, they call you thief, And at some point at home, even my grandmother get to hear this, said, I'm stealing. But no one thought about which money did he steal, It was like a stigma, Every time something get missing in the house, I was the first one to get a call. Even the ones I did it do, it was considered that I did it at that point. Excuse me. So, and there was one guy anyway that every time I come with money, we always, you always have that right-hand man who want to spend your money with you, right? So my teacher announced in the class, who know about this, that Sam is buying something in school, and they called his name instantly. Everyone called his name, and they brought him out, and we both got the punishment together. And so when I look back right now, and I was like, was I really a thief? No, it was my entitlement, But I was considered that, because I took it, I didn't ask, but even if I ask, I wouldn't get it, And yeah, it's sad to be like that, but it continues anyway. I continue to do what I have to do. But the only thing today, I remember why I said to you one time that I appreciate now everything she did for me, because when we moved from rent to my auntie's husband permanent, then he was building a house. When we moved there, things were worse than we were when we were in the city center, And based on I've always been business oriented, I know how to make money. I know how to. I asked her, I said, do you have any money in this house? Don't even ask me how old I am. I think I was like 12, 12, 13. I asked her, 12, maybe less, maybe 10, 11. I asked her, do you have any money in this house? She said, yes. What do I said, look, I see some guys that are selling pure water on the traffic, And they told me how they make money. If you have 20 naira, give me, She gave me 20 naira. After school, I left the house. I went to where they make this water, and then they were selling for you 5 for 20 naira. So you have 1 for profit. So you sell for 5 naira. So you sell 5 for 25 naira, So I took 20 naira. I bought 4 cold one, and I rushed to sell it in the traffic. I go back, take again. So I did that so many times in one day. I left home with 20 naira. I think I returned with 120 naira. She was shocked, but it's not my money. I gave it to her, just to support. And one day, the only day I finally felt like, okay, someone remember was like when he made an example to my younger brother. Because at some point, when my brother was in high school, he kind of told he told him, look, you don't compare yourself with Sam. There was a time we were in this house, we didn't have nothing. he took money from me and returned with money, profit, That was the only time I got that, appreciation. So it's hard to talk about the things you go through, And all that I kept then for over 20 years. I have never spoken about that. You know why? Because only one time in my life I did talk about me to someone else. I found myself in the village. I was sent packing. So when people tell you you're so close-minded, you're not talking, you always keep quiet, it started somewhere, Like since then, no matter what I go through, I don't speak. No matter what condition I am, I always find a way to get through. And who are these people? They were like neighbor, like 4 blocks away, Like I was going to sell as usual, I'd kind of finished quick that day, and they wanted me to do something for them, fetch water, do some clean and stuff. They're gonna pay me, extra, and that was gonna be my pocket money. I accept it. So we were talking, and they got hungry. I got hungry. We're like, okay, I said, yo, if you have food stuff here, I'll make it. I've always liked that stuff, so I made some quick jollof. We ate. We talked, and they were like, but yo, why is it only you that goes to sell something? Why is it not, the other one, the
Your
kids
cousin,
and my
yeah.
cousins, because at some point my cousins have to be forced to do the same even while I left, and they can't not even let their classmates see them. I go around the town. I don't mind which school I go, my classmates. Them, they can't do it, And I open up. I be like, you know what? They are not really my biological, but they treat me like a child, but it's okay, but they are not my biological. But everyone knows that, like, my aunt husband was more like a father to me than, And I said, yeah, he's really nice man, He does it. If it's up to him, I wouldn't be, doing all this. But of course, so they kind of left, because I was still doing. So I waited for them. I needed to go do my thing. They did the return. So I locked their door. I took the key with me, thinking that I'll return back on time. So I didn't return. They went to my house, to ask of me. They said, I'm not back. And they'll be like, but do you know this boy? I say, yeah, we know him. He was with us today. We pay him for some things. He told us that he who doesn't have parents, they are not his biological parents, blah, 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 that things are not very easy, struggling. They narrated, So that was the first time I actually speak out. So when I returned, that was the first thing they welcomed me with. Like, this person said, you did this, you said this, you said that, you said that. Tomorrow morning, you're going back to your mother. So, yeah, in the morning, I didn't want to go because I was going to school. I just, no matter how they struggle, I like the fact that I'm on a good path, But I try to run, they catch me. Imagine if you want to take somebody to your parents. My mom never questioned that decision before she died. But I remember that she said, but this child lives with you for years. He did something wrong. You bring him to me, But I was put in the car first to my grandmother. A few days later, my grandmother put me in another car to get to my mother, alone, a child. So the driver kind of saw that, but why are you going alone? I told him, yeah, this is what happened. He kind of know my dad then, He said, no, this is not right. He took me home by himself. He didn't even take money. My mom, my grandpa, they went to the farm. When they came back, they were surprised to see me, And my mom just be like, okay, don't worry. She kind of cried, be like, if my son did something, you should have at least bring him here, to me. Explain to me what he did. Not like this. But it has happened. My elder brother said, you know what, you're in GSS 3 now. You can write I was in GSS 2. I was really smart in school, actually. I was in GSS 2. He said, you can take the exam for GSS 3. I think you can do it, We'll enroll you, blah, 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 blah. I got enrolled. I got the junior WAEC. And then I was ready to go back to the city again. Then I was going to stay in my father's house to start the high school, which they call Class A Zeche or whatever here. Yeah. because after 3 years of high school, you started senior high school. While I was in senior high school, in my father's house, going to school, finding a way to pay those fees, this time I said, I'm not going to public school anymore. I'm going to private school. I need to regenerate my education. But then you realize that they missed you. Why? They missed you because they still need you to do what you used to do. I still go from my father's house is around Uwelu. They stays in Ubawa. So sometimes I don't even have the transport. I walk like over almost an hour to get there and still take the wheelbarrow full with, cooked corn, take it to the main gate before in front of the University of Benin, where the students are coming out buying. After that, I'm going back to school in the morning. All I get is transport fare to go back to school. And then the whole weekend, I'm coming back. So, but now looking back, like I said, no hate. It's all love for them because everything they did in their own opinion, they're bringing me up to become a better man of the society. But seriously, if you look at it deeply, you will understand that it's an abuse, but it's a polished abuse, which you never will talk about. I will never talk about. No child out there will talk about it. Why? Because they don't want to lose they don't want to lose the family. They don't want to lose they don't want their name to be dragged. They don't want to be questioned, You slap a child just because he couldn't find his calculator. Not because he did it fine, because he borrowed his calculator to a neighbor, and the neighbor is not home, you slapped him. Now I'm not talking about my auntie. Now I'm talking about an uncle who was my mother's brother where I was in Lagos. I was not even a child anymore, Just because a calculator that he didn't even buy, it was Uncle Eddie that bought me that calculator, my mom's immediate younger brother. Then he needed a calculator. I said, I gave it to somebody. He said, go get it. But the guy was not home or something. I was coming down. He said, where is it? I said, it's not home. He said, why do you? I said, because he wanted it. He slapped me for a calculator that he didn't even buy. So all these, they consider it discipline. All these, they consider it trying to teach him a lesson. But for me, it's an abuse. It's an abuse because I know now. Looking back, I think that I'm just one boy who is afraid of his elder ones, and it's an abuse. So the purpose of me talking out right now, because first of all, is clarity, freedom. Still so many books unopened. It affected me all my life. It gave me also closure. It made me understand who I am. It made me understand that it's me, for me, It made me to understand to start looking out for myself. It made me to understand when to shut things out. It made me to understand not to put unnecessary pressure on me. Because even at all that, you can imagine that nobody will ever call you to ask you, how are you? They are more concerned of the country you are, what you're doing there, when are you moving? So it made me to start to understand that this kind of pressure is not what I want for myself. I've been through too much as a child. I've been through too much. So this is time for me to find me. Until I don't find me, I don't owe no one explanation. Take my name everywhere. I don't care. It was my decision to never return to Nigeria for a very long time, not because I couldn't buy a ticket or something. But at the end of the day, it becomes so much of a high expectation, and I don't want to put that pressure on me. So I'll just kind of not go too deep right now because it's too much already for today for me. But the purpose of me talking about this is just to create awareness out there that there are a lot of people who you never really understand their lives, but it's easy for you to judge them. A lot of us, we are born with silver spoon, but along the road, we lost the spoon, not because we are careless. It's just because life throw at you whatever it once. It doesn't care who you are. But while you lost that silver spoon, what do? You can cry over it, or you can create your own kind of spoon. You can even get a golden spoon. But before then, even if you don't even have a spoon at all, eat with your hand. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So I stopped being ashamed of who I am. I stopped being ashamed of my scars. I stopped being ashamed of my past, because this past are the reason why I am here today. And that's why the first time I met you, and Paul introduced you to me and be like, yo, this guy want to play football. He came here, blah, 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 blah. I know you're in for a real shit. Like, the dragon is just opening its mouth for them to swallow you. Someone needed to lead you. Not because I had this perfect example of leaders in front of me, but because I've learned it by myself. And I know that. And I told you, I said, you have to find yourself first. You have to be okay. Stop thinking of this pressure. Everyone loved their mom. Everyone loved their dad. Everyone loved their siblings. But what you don't have, you cannot give it. Until you don't find yourself, no one will find you. Everyone can talk about, oh, my bro is abroad now. He's not calling. He's not sending nothing. Yeah. As a man, I've come to realize that we are mostly valued based on what we can provide. The moment you stop providing, you start to be, how do I put it? Should I use, if I use the word goose, you start to depreciate like a goose who no longer have value,
A quote from Chris Rock, the comedian, once he said, "Only women and dogs are loved for no reason."
Unconditionally, yeah.
Yeah, but as a man, you have to provide a certain value.
No, man. Our pain always sounds different when it's coming from a man. Now me just sounding from a man's perspective. Like, that's where you see that when you talk about your pain, you can still stand in front of whoever you're talking about it to. And they're going to be thinking, does he even care? Does he have emotions? Just because you don't let it out. Because the time you let those things out, it's like a flood. That's why men, women created differently. A woman can easily express her pain instantly, tear it up, move on. They don't, I'm not, some women keep this in their, but men show that it's like the world is resting on it.
And especially as black men or as African men, I think it's different. Like, we are brought up to understand or to know that if you show your emotion, if you're emotional, if you speak out,
You're not a man.
You're weak.
Yeah.
And I'm getting a bit emotional, man, just listening to your story. Like, all of this happened to you because you lost your dad.
Yeah,
And
that's the genesis of everything,
Well, sorry. Let me just finish this, because I feel like you need to hear this. Since the first day we met, like, I want you to understand that everything that happened to you, there was a purpose behind it, and it shaped you into who you are. And it might sound a certain way to certain people, but I think, like, the Bible says, as children of God, we will go through the fire, but it will not burn. And at the end of the day, there's always light at the end of the tunnel, And one of my favorite verses from the Bible says, like, all your wasted years, the years that have been eaten by the locusts, the cankerworm, God will replenish. I feel like now is the time for you to, reap all the fruits of your labor. You have kids now, lovely kids.
Yeah,
And,
I know.
And talking about your dad, I always used to think, like, when we can prepare ourselves for when our parents, get old, maybe get sick, and they eventually die. And for the past 2 weeks, my dad has been in the hospital. And remember last week we came to shoot, and I wasn't myself. And Andre was asking. For those who don't know, Andre he's the mastermind behind everything here. He was asking if I was okay. He thought I was upset with him, but it's because my dad was not okay. And like I'm thinking to myself now, he's almost 90. And I'm still not ready for him to go. And you're sitting here, you're telling me you lost your dad at 6 and everything you had to go through just because he wasn't around. Because if your dad was alive, you wouldn't have to go through all this selling on the streets at the age of 10, at the age of 12, and all of that, man. Like,
Yeah, these sort of things, they are, like you said, they are for a reason. That's why now, instead of me to, if I have that money, instead of me to now be thinking about how to impress family member, don't now. People gonna misquote me on this one. I'm not saying not to help family member when you can, okay? But I'm saying that people should also understand that you're human, you know? How can you not know how about someone is doing? Like someone call you. You have never asked, how are you? Are you okay? No one even care if you're okay where you are. They are even more concerned about you leaving where you are to another place just because you can make easily more money there, which they've never been there, so you can help them. Now, so I'm not saying you can help family member when you have it, but I'm saying that any family member that consider the help you have for them more important than how you are, how you're feeling, how you're holding on, I'm not sorry to cut them off. I'm not. Now, so if I eventually have the opportunity to really help, I'll extend hands of love to everyone if I can. It's not the case. But you see, those kids out there on the street, they are my biggest purpose. They are my biggest priority. Now, sometimes I just sit here and ask myself, imagine my son not having me. I might not be together with their mom, but once every day or every 2 days, we have to see each other. And there was a time whereby when he becoming emotional, he's tough. He never want to cry in front of you or in front of me. There are times I see it, God, I tell him, let it out. It's okay. Let it out. Me telling him that, he's so relieved, and instantly he let it out. Then I give him a hug. We move on. No one will ever tell you that back home. You want to cry? They're going to make you cry. They beat you more. And they force you to keep your mouth into your mouth, not to cry out. Like, men don't cry. So,
and let me just say this. Now that you just mentioned this, for the past 2 years, before I got my job, what I'm doing now, there were times I'll sit in my room by myself. I used to call you. Sometimes I call you and I'm not saying anything on the phone. I'm just, and people sometimes people don't really understand what you're going through. Like, I mean, even the people you're with, like they cannot understand. And sometimes as a man, like, you're trying to find your way, you make mistakes, you learn from them, you take horrible decisions, and you feel like, with our upbringing, with the way we were raised, if you speak out, they will judge you.
Of judgment, yeah.
And it's because of things like this that we tend to keep so much built up inside. And sometimes there are certain things that we go through and we can't even share them, not because we don't want to. Yeah, it's too much.
It's just too much.
Yeah.
And first of all, being a black man doesn't help.
It doesn't.
It make the stigma even bigger. And now I admit, I accept who I am. Everywhere now I identify as a gorilla. Like, before you even call me one, I know who I am. But you want to see how strong this gorilla is? Come hit him. Because knowing who you are is always the first assignment you give to yourself. And when you discover that, it doesn't matter anymore. it took me time to rediscover myself. Like you said, I've made a lot of mistakes doing that.
Yeah, we all have,
I mean,
man. We
I
all
have
have.
made a lot. Like there was a time I don't remember who I told. I said, I am a work in progress. I mean, just because sometimes these mistakes we make tends to sharpen us, but it hit us so bad at some point that it gives us the state of regret. You start to regret. And one thing I hate the most in my life is I don't like regretting. That's why I'm very slow to talk. And if I eventually open my mouth to tell you you're shit, it's because you're really shit. But I am very slow to using those words because I don't want to be in a situation whereby I start to be like, yo, you shouldn't have said that. No, you start to regret, and I'll be the one apologize. You offend me, then I'm apologizing to you. That's why I'm very slow to speaking. I just said, okay, I let it go unless you push it too much. So along the way, trying to survive, trying to succeed, trying to be a different person, I made mistakes, which probably if I look back, I'd be like, maybe if I avoided this, if I avoided that. That's a story for another day because at the end of the day, when I left Nigeria, when I eventually left Nigeria, it was like a dream finally came true. And like, I don't care if I have to sleep on the train station. I don't care if I have to sleep on the street, but just not being there anymore, just becoming independent. When I said you are most valued based on what you can provide, that also based on what they see in front of you. My elder brother got into law school. He's a lawyer. And in Lagos, I realized that my uncle, because when I say my uncle, when I talk about my auntie, I'm talking about my father's side. When I say my uncle, I'm talking about my mother's side because my father have other brothers that they don't even know where I am. I don't know them. I know them, but since my dad died, they never checked on me or my siblings. So when my brother going to law school, my uncles, they were really proud of him. So the one I told you that slapped me, gave him money, a lot of money. My elder brother gave him everything, to go to school. He was like the center of the, celebrity then. Then I realized that when I got into school, like I first tried to I applied for medicine actually. I took the exam, I failed, twice. And I knew it wasn't, I didn't think it was not for me. I just didn't prepare enough. I was too busy playing football. Then even at that time before I left Nigeria, I was doing construction work. Fuck.
So, wait, hold on.
I mean, it's too much. Damn.
How did so the opportunity with football and you traveling, how did that come?
So while I was doing this construction work, I was working with one engineer and I kind of understand there's nothing about construction that I really don't know. Probably that part of me a lot of people don't know. So I saved some money. My elder brother came from Lagos. He told me, okay, since Men's did well, why not take a polytechnic examination? Like we have JAM, we have another one for polytechnic. And I took it, I applied for QS, quantity survey. Since I already know about building, so I said, let me just go into something like construction. I went there my first year in the polytechnic. I was the polytechnic first choice goalkeeper. So we went for a lot of games. We went for NAPOCA, all Nigeria Polytechnic game, where I stand out, qualified. I had to go to West Africa Polytechnic Games in Ghana. So after that, one of my coach, he made a mistake. He didn't play me in one of the match. He knew I was the best, but he didn't play me. He played the older guy who was in the school for a longer time. We lost that match. So he came to me and said, I'm sorry. We lost the match because he was not really, good. He made a lot of mistakes. He came to me and said, I'm sorry. So we came back to Polytechnic Auchi. And I was home. He called me. He said, yo, I want you to pick your bags, go to Ibadan. I was in the Benin, the south, Ibadan is the west. Go there right now. There's a trial going on. He directed me to one man, John Tape. Tell him you're from me. I was like, nah, I'm not going. It's too much. I made so much. I made passport, did a lot of trials, and one man deceiving us here and there. We did the travel. No, I'm not going. So I was with one girl there, Linda was her name. Like, but just go and try. I was like, but I don't even have money. Then my aunt husband came. I told him, Dad, look, this is what's happening. That's why I said, today I respect that man. I still call him that. He said, prepare your bag, you go tomorrow. It's okay. I went. And that was how the story changed. That was how I trained with them, and one of the guy who's connected to some Turkish team, 1 month later, I got a visa after 1 month of training with them, and that's how I left the country.
Yeah.
So I left the country. I didn't even look back, So I never looked back to then.
So I think we already passed our time for today, and man, I'm so emotional. My voice is not even out, bro.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. What don't kill you makes you stronger, bro. You need to always remember that. So, I mean, more to come. I just hope God give me the strength to talk about it, because everyone would think that leaving Nigeria was the breakthrough, but it was just the beginning of another struggle. So we'll keep that for another time, because right now I think we're all silent here just because one way or the other we've been touched. And I told you, there are some books I didn't want to open, and I don't even know right now. Let's pray for PTSD. If you're there watching, if you're there wherever you are, pray for Sam.
No, it's okay, man. Like, this is why we came up with the podcast, and we worked on it. We prayed on it for so long, and it's finally here. And we want to open so many pages, and so until next time, like, I don't know, maybe you have anything else to say?
Look, whoever is watching, wherever you are, from Africa, from Europe, America, I just want you to know that there is no limit to what you can be. So people might drag you back, people might discriminate you, people might look down on you, people might even think you don't look good enough. Listen to this. All my life, I have been doubted. All my life, I have given so many reasons to not believe in myself. I was even called thief. But the difference is that I have never one day tried to prove them wrong, because I have refused to be a prisoner of their opinion. So always be you, do you, and you will see that you can do things beyond your limit. Until next time, it's Big Sam.
And well, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm still emotional, bro. Like, anyways, it's the Broken and Unseen podcast, and yeah, we are here to share many more stories like this with you. The next episode, we will be diving into how everything went when we all traveled to Europe, how football started here in Europe, and if you want any guests, please suggest to us, send us a DM, tell us who you'd want to see come on the podcast. There are a lot of athletes, a lot of footballers who probably had their careers cut short because of injuries, like us too. If you want to see them on the podcast, tag them, DM us, sorry, and we will try our best to bring them on the podcast to share their stories. And until next time, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We need to grow the family. We need to grow the community. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on all social media platforms. And this podcast is going to go places. It's my humble self, Joel.
Hold on, Joel. I'm just going to say this. Your subscription might be saving one kid out there. Yeah. So help us grow this community. Spread the love. And there's no hate here.
Share. When you subscribe, share. Bring some other person to subscribe. Bring some other person to also share as well. And so it's myself, Joel, here with Sam. Until next time, Tete Valate DJ Klim.
See you again.